We got us a bitter Thursday night foot brawl at Jet Life Stadium as the New England Patriots, 1-1 on the 24 season, traveled down to good old MetLife to take on A.A. Ron in his re-debut at Jet Life Stadium in front of his home fans. Butt fumble days long gone. The Patriots, all sorts of banged up. The Jets, are they what we thought they would be? And then some. Well, we're here today to give you a little peek behind enemy lines to see what's going on with the Jets and what they're thinking about the Patriots on the latest and always greatest Six Rings and Football Things podcast brought to you by WEEI, Odyssey, and 2400 Sports. You got the usual suspects right here. Old Jumbo Hart from the WEEI Afternoon Show. And, of course, at the bottom of a pint glass, you'll find your old pal, Fitzy GFY. And joining us from the wide world of Jets is the host of the Turn on the Jets podcast, friend of the show, and now the co-host of the All 32 podcast with Andy's bestie, Mike Giatti. It's the one and only Mr. Will Parkinson back in the house. What's up, Will?
Yeah, another Jets-Pats week. We don't have to talk about Zach Wilson, which is since the first time since I've been on the show in the last couple of years, we have not had to discuss Zach. So I'm pretty happy not to talk Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. I can tell you that much.
I was going to say, even with the Patriots' historically bad wide receiver output thus far in the season, we don't have to do Mac Jones. You don't have to do Zach Wilson. So actually, we're both on like reasonably emotional level ground. However, I have a feeling we have two teams headed in different directions. The Patriots start off the season with an emotionally sound, fundamentally strong win, and the Jets get their asses handed to them by the 49ers. Week 2, the Pats have a chance to come through again, but then they just don't have enough gas and legs against the Seahawks, whereas the Jets hold off the Titans and their quarterback and coach. And what did Brian Callahan, Andy, say to? Did he literally just yell?
What the F are you doing? It was very simple.
Yeah, it was
fair question.
It was pretty cut and dry. So tell me, how do you think the Jets look thus far on the season before we head into what's going to go down Thursday night at MetLife?
I think they played like a D- game week 1. I think they played somewhere between a C and a B- game at points. I thought the second half was a lot more of like what you expect from the Jets. Defense gave up a touchdown in which later in the year, there's no way Chuck Clark's not making that play. Calvin Ridley, like first play he's really made as a Titan. The defense was much better. They started getting pressure on Levis, started forcing 3-and-outs. The offense, comes out. Rodgers, they scored 2 touchdowns. There's a lot less 3-and-outs. It's a lot more quick game, running the football, 2-back stuff, which they had not done. So I think they've looked okay. I don't think anyone really shouldn't say anyone. A lot of people expected them to be like good right away. I think that was probably foolish. Rodgers hadn't played football in a real game in 610 days for longer than 4 plays. Tyron Smith's in a new situation. AVT's back from an Achilles, missed the entire year. Morgan Moses coming back from a torn pec. Like, these are all guys that are kind of all rusty. Mike Williams, a lot of rust coming off an ACL. It just felt like expecting the Jets offense to be this high-flying offense week 1 and 2 in San Francisco and Tennessee was probably a bit of a miscalculation by kind of just the lot of hype that surrounded them. So I would say, like, they haven't played great, but they've started to play better here. I thought the second half again in Tennessee was much better, and I expected to get better week over week. More Rodgers reps is a good thing. Mike Williams is starting to get a little bit more involved now. The offensive line's starting to play a lot better. They've been really good in pass pro. Run blocking wise, it's gotten better. And then defensively, they've got a lot of injuries. Like, their defense is decimated right now. That said, they're starting to look a little bit more like the Jets defense of the last couple of years, as opposed to week 1, where it was just, it looked like, I don't know. I don't even know what it looked like. It was bad week 1.
One of the strange sources of that hype was, and I'm sure you saw, was Bill Belichick on his little underdog thing when he did the breakdown of the Jets, was just gushing. Like, great wide receiver, great running back.
Should have knew they were going to lose right away when he started doing that.
That was the last gift to Pat's Nation was trying to curse the Jets.
And the funny thing is, none of those guys have played up to that sort of hype through 2 weeks. From what you've seen, if we were going to see anyone break out Thursday night, is it Breece Hall? Is it Garrett Wilson? Is it Rodgers? Like, which one of that sort of triumvirate is most close to their greatness?
It's a good question. I think I won't go Garrett from the aspect that I think I was just recording my pod with Devin McCourty. He said he thinks they're going to do what Pats teams of old have always done. Like they'll put Gonzalez on Mike Williams and double Garrett and try to just operate in that fashion, which to me means Garrett's just not going to have as many opportunities. Brees hasn't looked great running the football through 2 weeks, but has he's broken off a couple runs. And then, I don't know, if you're throwing goal balls to your running back and he's like mossing people in the end zone, that's pretty good. Obviously, I just think there'll be a lot of Braylon Allen short week. Brees took a pretty big shot early on. So I'll go Rodgers in this one just because I feel like as much as Gerard Mayo and this Patriots defense are really good as a group, no Bentley, obviously we know no Barmore. Think again, short week, a team that's, I don't care what you say, like the emotional high of week one, going back to emotional high of a home opener and losing in overtime, basically playing the entirety of overtime. There's no way the Patriots' legs are not a little bit heavy defensively. It's not possible they're not. And Geno did have success last week. So I'll go Rodgers just because I think now, a couple of games in, starting to get back into a rhythm. He's starting to move a little bit more in the pocket. We'll see if that continues. I don't know what the Patriots are going to do defensively. I'll go Rodgers. I don't know if he's going to go throw for 400 yards. I think it might be more like 240, but a couple of touchdowns, and you're like, okay, like now we're starting to see he's not turning the football over. He had the one bad throw, against San Francisco is a little behind Wilson, but other than that, like it's been mistake free. It hasn't been glorious and like this glamorous Rodgers MVP level, but I don't know that the Jets need that. And the way the NFL quarterback play is through 2 weeks, I'll take Rodgers Stone for 180 and 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, because at the end of the day, like turnovers will kill you and touchdowns will win you football games. So I'll go Rodgers probably in that order, just because I think the way the Patriots will game plan, it's going to be like somebody else besides Hall and Wilson has to beat us. And I think that maybe is what ends up happening.
Yeah, I heard Rodgers doing his media avails earlier this week, and he sounds like he actually is starting to feel a little bit better. Let's take a listen.
Yeah.
What it could be like Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about it. It's been a long time since I took the field at Jet Life, so be a lot of emotions for sure. But we're thankfully already into the 3rd game of the season. Played 2 full games. Body feels good. So about as good as you can on a short week. Yeah, it'll be fun to be out there with the crowd. And night games. I love night games, so excited about it. Not, no one's real crazy about Thursday games, but everybody loves the weekend after the Thursday games.
Now, Will, you have to expect the same way that there was that massive fanfare and the huge crowd pop for Rodgers when he came out last year on 9/11. He's holding the flag, and then sadly 4 plays later, there's a different kind of pop. Now he comes back. He's got 2 road games under his belt, basically to try to get up to speed. I think we're going to see Rodgers as much as Mayo may try to glean what Belichick did to slow him down or to get to confuse and confound him. I think you're going to probably see Rodgers at his best. Now, like you said, compound that with the Patriots playing way too much defense last Sunday because the Pats offense couldn't hold the ball for more than 3 plays. Historically bad wide receiver production from the Pats. Your offensive, you have something resembling an offensive line. Pats defense, like losing Bentley, Andy, that's like he's the guy that just gets no love from Pats fans or the media for some reason. Good football players. They're leading tacklers, the captain of the defense. I just feel like this is a prime opportunity for the Jets to probably end up looking like what you guys have hoped the Jets would look like for a while.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was the most locked in Rodgers presser that I've seen so far. A lot of the other ones, a lot of, schmoozing with the media a little bit, a lot of, doing a bunch of different, like he was like pretty like short with his answers. And that to me felt like a guy who's kind of locked in now. He's like back in that rhythm of like, okay, we got a game in 2 days. Like I just feel like you have that longer week, and there was a big lead up, obviously, to Monday Night Football and the whole 9 yards, and coming off a loss, it was a lot of, I don't know. I just felt like I know you don't want to read too much into, player availability and stuff like that, but I do sometimes feel like when you get that guy that's like Rodgers and those kind of guys that feel like they're super locked in. Look, Rodgers hasn't been amazing versus the Patriots in his career, but in his 3 real starts, like he's still 6 touchdowns, 1 pick, 900 yards. Like it's just, I think, again, it's maybe not to quite the level of Tom, but even like we joke about I joke about the Jets all the time that they have had more success against Josh Allen than anybody. And Josh is obviously nowhere near the level of the greatness of Rodgers or Brady, but like Josh wins most of those matchups. And I mean, it's just, I think you'll see Rodgers, the improv stuff might not be. I don't know that we're going to see a lot of it this year. The same way he made such a the highlight reels are insane from some of the improv stuff, but he's as accurate as it gets. In the pocket still, the arm strength is still there. They throw to Garrett Wilson, against Snead late in the fourth quarter. There, like I don't know, he's flat-footed, flicking his wrist, and it's a 30-yard dime to a guy. You know what I mean? Like that stuff.
It's crazy how he has that arm talent.
Yeah,
still.
It's such an unnatural. It's so weird. Like you want to watch what Rodgers is thinking and what he sees, but you don't want to copy what he does because we've seen Zach Wilson and others try to do it, and the footwork's not always perfect, and it's a little bit wonky, and it's like throwing off his back foot and doing stuff, and you're like, how did he get that ball there? So yeah, no, I agree. To me, the Jets have done way too much archaic run pass through 2 weeks. It's been a lot of like Breece Hall, and then even more Breece Hall, and I get it. You want to establish a tone, but it feels like this week's the week to kind of do the opposite. Like the Patriots are going to probably load the box and be like, hey man, like we know you want to run the football. Nate Hackett's very predictable in play calling. We know you want Breece Hall to get the football. We'll stack the box and we'll try to, you got to beat us up front. That's probably not what you want the Jets to. The Jets don't really want to get in a battle with the Patriots of like who can smash each other's skulls in and bet over and over again. It's going to be, we trust our guys outside and tight ends and backs more than your skill guys. And I think that's probably the Jets' best path is like pass to open up the run as opposed to run opening up the pass on Thursday.
On the other side of the ball, obviously they had some issues in the run defense in the opener. Looks like Will McDonald, their first-round pick from a year ago, who I selfishly picked as my defensive rookie of the year last year. It didn't come to fruition. Looks like, at least numerically, he's starting to have some production. Obviously, the Patriots' offensive line is who the hell knows what it's going to look like come Thursday night. You got guys retiring, guys hurt, guys out of position, guys who just suck and are going to have to play even though they suck kind of situation. Is that Jets defensive front ready to pounce on this opportunity that the Patriots line may kind of present to them?
Yeah, I was talking with Mike about this, and obviously going back and watching both Patriots games, Ramondre's obviously gotten him out of a lot of trouble in terms of the run game of just his ability to he breaks the first tackle pretty much every time,
Yep.
and if he doesn't, obviously, and then pass blocking wise, Jacoby's gotten the ball out quickly, obviously, and that's just over the middle of the field. The tight ends and the backs, the receivers don't get any love, even though I think Jalen Polk's a good player. The Jets defensive issues are kind of weird because in some ways, it's right now without Reddick, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Huff walked, JFM got traded, Jermaine Johnson's out. So their top four edges are theoretically all not there. And those are was their quote unquote best position group. DJ Reed.
So can they generate the kind of pass rush I think Patriots fans think of when they think Robert Saleh's defense?
Yeah. So yes and no. They haven't been as good, from that perspective. But then you look at the end of the game, they had 23 or 24 pressures on Sunday. It's like that's where it's a little bit. I don't know. They haven't just gotten home quite as much. But again, they've played San Francisco, take it for what you will. Obviously, they've ran the ball a million times, and then Will Levis holds the ball a lot. Will McDonald had his best game. Maybe he continues that. Quinn Williams has been kind of quiet, and he's kind of been the guy against the Pats in the last 3 or 4 years that just seems to it's a sack and a half and 3 tackles for loss every time.
Yep.
I don't trust necessarily the other two. I don't like Michael Clemens is not a good football player, and he's going to probably play a lot in this game. The Jets have a bunch of UDFAs that are good players and potentially will be really good down the line, but right now they are what they are. So, yeah, I think this Jets is going to be a big-time team group effort of trying to stop the run. CJ Mosley, I would be shocked if he plays. DJ Reed, I'd be pretty surprised. He's probably 50-50. Again, Jermaine's out. Reddick's obviously not going to play. So, 4 of their 11 starters are out, probably minimum. Michael Carter's banged up. He'll play, I think, but he's probably going to be a game-time decision. That said, Jamien Sherwood's a converted, safety that's moved to linebacker and has been a guy that's the run game's kind of his thing. Chuck Clark should be good in the run game. So, yeah, I think they have a shot. I just think this is going to be one of those, Patriots are going to run the ball literally 45 times. That's why for the Jets, it's you got to get up early to make Patriots throw. And if you're New England, you want to kind of hold this game at 0-0, 3-0, 3-3 for as long as you can.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like, Will, if the Patriots, Mayo, Van Pelt, and Brissett and company had the offense where they would like it to be with a healthy, proper line, some experienced receivers that can actually catch the ball, and a quarterback that isn't basically running for his life on jailbreaks. I mean, Brissett is pressured on half of his dropbacks, bare minimum. That's just the way it is. Patriots only have 85 yards to the entire wide receiver core through 2 weeks. It's a mess. So it almost sort of sounds like we're not going to get the best of what we would hope for between Pats Jets. Rather, in a war of attrition on a short turnaround, the fact that the Jets have more talent on both sides of the ball feels like that's basically the reality that we should steer into.
Yeah, I think this is I thought New England was going to win against Seattle. I on the pod, I thought I was just like, this is a classic, and they almost did, right? Like it was a classic New England, Seattle coming cross country off a home opener, New England playing quite good, and at least sound kind of old fashioned Patriots football or whatever. Kind of them and the Steelers have kind of started the year off and thrown it back 20 years and back to what they did 20 years ago. I just think short week, road game. It's a rivalry game, but I also think that like a lot of the rivalry is more now fan based than it is player based. Like Bill's gone, obviously Brady's gone. Even the Rex Ryans of the world, I just mentioned the McCourties and all the Ruckers, all that stuff's not really as much there. And this to me feels like a rock fight that ends up being a bigger point differential than maybe is expected, I guess. But I don't think it's going to be like a blowout. I think I said 26-10 or whatever. I think it's probably ends up something in that nature where it's a closer game. Like it'd be a closer game if the Patriots could push the ball down the field. That's to me like the differentiator. And Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback and not Zach Wilson. And I know I joke about it, but 2 years ago we think back that 10-3 walk-off punt return, like the Patriots offense didn't move the football an inch for 60 minutes, and the Jets just had literally nothing on offense. Even look back to that game earlier in that year, Jets are up 10-3. Mac throws a pick six. It gets called back. That should have been a comfortable Jets win. Zach Wilson's brain breaks. He throws 3 of the worst interceptions you've ever seen, and the Patriots win by a touchdown or two. Like, I just don't know that Rodgers is going to make those killer mistakes. And if the Bengals made a bunch of mistakes, I felt like the opener, and the Patriots capitalized big time. Seattle didn't quite make those same mistakes. They had some, like Seattle let them, you can't let a team like New England hang around. I feel like the Jets play the brand of football they want to play. This should be a comfortable win. If the Jets play sloppy the way they did in the first half against Tennessee and the way they did majority of San Francisco, it's going to be 13-13 or 10-10 with 4 minutes to go in the fourth. And I don't think either team wants to be in that game. Like New England probably wants to be in a game where like they're just forcing the Jets into mistakes. And you hope, again, with Rodgers and company, that's not the kind of brand of football the Jets play anymore.
And if it's 10-9, Andy, in the fourth quarter, you'll hear Al Michaels like, oh, another barn burner. He's just going to be dying for that private jet and that steak. Okay, you got last question, buddy?
Well, just Will, before you go, I just want to, forget Thursday night, forget the first couple of weeks. Where is sort of because I know a lot of sentiment in Patriot Nation of Jets are going to Jets. This will never work with Rodgers. It'll blow up in the end. Saleh sucks. They're going to need a new coach. Where are you more Hackett? Oh, he's Rodgers' guy, but he blows too. Like that whole mentality permeates Patriot Nation. Do you buy into that? Are you closer to like Jets are a Super Bowl contender, or are you closer to the Pats fans' belief that it's in the end, this is never going to work and it's going to blow up?
I would say I'm of the mindset right now they're a team that can win the division. I'm not sure that they can be a Super Bowl contender if they get Hassan Reddick back and they trade for Devontae Adams and Rodgers gets 15% better, which are all understandably feasible options that should occur. Devontae's probably the least likely of it to happen, but it seems like that's one of those like inevitable trades we'll get in week 7 when Gardner Minshew inevitably sucks as a football player. If that all happens, they become a Super Bowl contender. I think there's questions about Saleh from a game management perspective. I think this was his first win on short rest and like the shortest rest he's had in his career. Like there's been some reasonable questions with him, but generally he's figured out to be able to good on defense and Rodgers take over the offense. Hackett, same thing where like, it's definitely a concern, but you hope, Rodgers can change some of the plays. The same old Jets thing, I think I would have bought into more if they would have blown the game last week in terms of like, that's a game the Jets have just lost for the last 15 years. Hey, go on the road, you're expected to win. That was their first win on the road as a 3+ point favorite in 15 years. Like, That's insane. That was the first time.
Thank you, Will Levis.
Yeah, thank you, Will Levis, literally. And then all of a sudden the Jets kind of snapped into it. I think teams have to learn how to win for sure. And I think there is that allure to it. And again, like I know it's so stupid. And I think we talked on this pod last year that week 18 game was such a like
Ugh.
Jets fans were so kind of like both fan bases were like, we don't really want to win this for the draft pick, whatever.
Right.
I feel like it was imperative the Jets won that game from the aspect of we don't have to talk about it's 16 in a row. They haven't won in this place in X amount of years. I know it's stupid, but it hearing it all week, you almost start to believe it. Now I feel like most of that Jets roster was there last year. And it's like, hey, we still beat Bill Belichick in New England. And even if it's we didn't know what obviously that game was, but it's for whatever reason, I think sometimes those little things. So yeah, I think there's real questions about the coach. I think there's questions about health and what their ceiling really is. But I also think they're a really talented roster that in an AFC East now where Miami seems like, I don't know, whether they an 8-win team max. At this point in New England's kind of in that, hopefully we have the coach and the quarterback. And if we win 5 games and Drake May looks good, like we're throwing a party. I don't know. I just, to me, I think that this team it's still a 10 or 11 win team. To answer your question, though, I don't know. Their ceiling is going to hinge on a lot of what the next 6 weeks look like. Where, again, if they come up with Devontae and Reddick and they get Mosley and these guys back healthy, now it's like, wow, okay, now we're talking. If they don't get Devontae, Reddick never shows up, and they kind of meander to 9 or 10 wins, they're obviously a borderline a playoff team at that point.
Yeah, and who knows if Hacksaw is going to stick around, if Robert Saleh is going to get to go home and take care of his 8 kids, or if he's going to stick around. There are a lot of questions for the Jets. The Pats could very well be a get-right game for them, or maybe, just maybe, the Jets are, the right kind of, maybe it turns into that rock fight as well. I don't feel great about it either, and I feel like your feelings and suspicions about the Jets and how this will go will be confirmed in the long run. Will, appreciate the time today as always, folks. Give him a follow. He's at WillPa11 on the old Twix machine. Of course, he is the host of Turn on the Jets. And if you can't stomach the idea of listening to an all Jets podcast, though he does have Devin McCourty on for the preview this week, which is a high quality guest as well, make sure you subscribe and listen to our pal Mike Giardi with Will every week on their NFL podcast, All 32. Always appreciate the time, man. It's always a great chat as well.
Yeah, thanks for
you actually make us wish the god awful gangrene Jets well every now and again. So,
hey, listen, that's the goal.
Ish, which is a talent in and of itself. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yeah, thanks so much.
See you, buddy. Will Parkinson from Turn on the Jets joining us here on the Six Rings and Football Things podcast, Behind Enemy Lines. And now, ladies and gentle fans, to the good Pats people, the Foxborough faithful, Fitzy and Hart on Six Rings, give you our prediction for how things are going to go down Thursday night at Death Life, Meth Life, Jet Life Stadium in Andy's favorite place in the world, North New Jersey, in this suddenly pivotal. Is this pivotal? Are we pivotal adjacent? Is it pivotal-ish?
Showdown? No.
I
mean, pivotal in a non-record sense. I think this is a crossroads game for one Gerard Mayo and his culture. I really do. I don't think you can lose this, whatever the season's going to be, what the season's going to be. But if you fall apart, if you get embarrassed, if you look like a poorly coached team on a short week who had players quit and question the culture and all those things, that's snowballing towards a bad season. So in that sense, I think it's pivotal for Gerard Mayo, his coaches, and his culture.
I don't disagree with that assessment. As a matter of fact, that may be one of the more, that's not a, oh, Hart, why can't you be a Pats fan? What? That's not a you people take. That is that's a fundamentally relevant spin on this. Like, okay, Mayo, if this whole thing is take him to the hill, we play together, we win and lose as a team, you now are down your best defensive lineman. You are now down the defense's captain, one of your team captains, and your leading tackler for the rest of the season with Juwan Bentley and the torn pectoral. I honestly can't tell you what 5 humans are going to play offensive line for you. Your quarterback probably feels like he crashed a minivan down a mountain and forgot to put on his seatbelt because the poor guy's been hit so many times already. Your receivers can't do shit. The backs probably could use a week off. Just one. It's okay. It's not going to get us in the adult portion of the pods. Jeez. It's fine. All right. They can't do squat. Sorry. You feel better now? Okay. Thank you.
Clean it up.
All right. I don't feel like it. This is where I get to. I'm not on FM radio like you all the time. I get to work blue if I want to. It's fine. Some people feel it. It's okay. They're not doing well, Andy. 85. And by the way, I thought the most jarring stat was the fact that the Patriots wide receiver group in total, freaking 19 yards to the receivers week 2, 66 yards week 1, 85 yards, fewest to a wide receiver group over 2 games in well over a decade in the NFL. Did you see this other stat? This courtesy of our friends at Boston Sports Info. In Sunday's loss to the Seahawks, the Patriots did this. Time of possession was greater than their opponent. 0 turnovers, more than 300 yards, more than 150 rushing yards, fewer than 3 penalties. Since the NFL started keeping stats to this degree in 1983, 153 teams qualified as doing just that. Prior to Sunday's game against Seattle, those teams' record was 152-0.
Yep.
Pats were the first.
It's not as bad as the Giants. I keep telling you that. These things are bad, but you look at the Giants and the Panthers and say it could be worse. And that is my optimistic take on this, because I think this is a bad spot. And Will just sort of articulated it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can count on Aaron Rodgers to give you the football. And if the other
He's not
team,
Zach Wilson, no.
If the other team doesn't make mistakes, now he obviously doesn't, they can fumble. There's other guys involved. There can be tipped passes. He can hit somebody in the hands and it can deflect off, and those things can happen. But this is a tough spot for a Patriots team that is banged up physically. And I think emotionally there's some stuff going on in that. I'm sorry, but the fact that an offensive lineman left, a wide receiver was bitching on social media, was asked to leave. Another wide receiver was bitching in real life and can't be asked to leave because he might be your best wide receiver. So it'd be dumb.
I forgot about the Jalen Reagor thing. He literally said, and by the way, Jalen Reagor, before he got cut on Tuesday, boasting that he's the Bugatti of the Patriots practice squad. I mean, guy.
That was one of those. If he were a Bugatti, it's one of those like fake ones that's really just like a lawnmower engine underneath, and you bought the shell and put it on top of the lawnmower engine. Because I mean, have some self-awareness. That's why I actually gave him a little bit of benefit of the doubt and thought maybe the Bugatti in his meme was Drake May, and he was actually criticizing the quarterback play, and it was sort of talking for the wide receivers in conjunction with Demario Douglas and Jalen Polk because he's with them all the time. For him to think he's a Bugatti, yeah, he's a Fugatti. Get the Fugatti out of here, kind of guy. Like, getting rid of him.
I mean, they did it. They couldn't have, like, again, you're talking about how this is a big week for Gerard Mayo to like establish, set, and have his culture tested. He didn't waste any time. Like, oh, you're going to call the other players trash and say that you're the premium pick here. Come on.
It's such a joke. I mean, for a guy who should shut the up because you were drafted ahead of Justin Jefferson and have done nothing with your career.
Nope.
You like Philadelphia, Minnesota, New England, like nobody wants you. And I'm not saying he can't play. I actually thought there were times he looked pretty good on the practice field this summer.
Kick return touchdown last year. We thought he was going to make the squad to be like a returner, part-time receiver, had some special teams value.
And he kind of did. He made the team, then he was cut, then he goes to the practice squad. He would have played this year. He would have caught passes, but his social media tapping fingers got him in trouble. And I would have done the same thing. You're not worth the trouble. You're not worth it. I can have a conversation with Demario Douglas about maybe how he didn't handle things perfectly this week, but you are not worth it, Jalen Reagor. And I was glad they did that. I think that sends a message to the locker room. Like, and again, that's where I bring the culture in, figuring out the culture and how you're guiding the culture and leadership and everything that's going on this week. But even if I take all that out of the equation, I just don't think it's a good matchup. Like, as much as Will kind of detailed the injuries on the Jets defense. Oh, they're without their middle linebacker. Oh, so are we. Oh, they're without some of their best defensive linemen. Oh, so are we. Like, it's, I don't know where the matchup edge sways the Patriot way. And Aaron Rodgers and that offense has the potential. Breece Hall. And
this Braylon Allen kid that Will Parkinson mentioned as well.
Plays.
He is fast AF.
So I don't know how you feel good about this matchup on the road. I know a lot of people were in the chat, rock fight. We got to start a rock fight. That's all fine and dandy until the rock fight isn't the rock fight you want it to be. And maybe you go 3 and out like you did last week. Aaron Rodgers goes, 8 plays, 80 yards, touchdown, 7-0. Oh, you kick a field goal. Rodgers goes and scores again, 14-3. You know, if Geno Smith can throw for 330 or whatever the hell he did, isn't Aaron Rodgers very much capable of picking apart your secondary, almost regardless of what you choose to do with Garrett Wilson? I realize Garrett Wilson is their best player, and I also think there is a slow burn, slow build coming to that Jets offense. I think they are figuring out who they are a little bit.
Yes, they are. I think the Jets are slowly coming together, whereas the Patriots, unfortunately, just due to attrition, injuries, and a lack of depth, let alone elite talent, may not be coming apart, but could be fraying quickly in the season. And we may be inevitably traveling down when are we going to see Drake May road, just because we're going to need something to cheer for. I feel so badly for Jacoby Brissett. I honestly, I don't even think he thought it would be this difficult to complete a pass, let alone get the passing game going and involve the wide receivers. But dude's fighting for his life. At the same time, holds the ball maybe just a little too much. That's on him. That's on the receivers. That's on the backs. That's on Alex Van Pelt as well. You got to find play. You got to find ways. You can't have a guy like Demario Douglas, shifty little son of a gun that he is, have 0 targets in a football game. You can't. And now on defense as well, look, the Jets offensive line has definitely improved from where it was last year. And the Patriots have a decent pass rush. But when you lose a player like Juwan Bentley, and you just had a game last week against a semi-suspect offensive line in Seattle, where Geno Smith did whatever he wanted because the pressure wasn't generated. He eluded them time and again in the pocket, and you gave up 2 100-plus yard receivers. It just feels like if the Pats had a healthy offensive line and Brissett had established a rapport with some of these receivers, Andy, I would feel better about the Pats pulling off the upset as a 6.5-point dog Thursday night at Jet Life. But I don't know how you can say right now, aside from just being hoodie footy pajama, as Ordway used to say, or as being, Mr. Pat's positive super fan over here, how the hell can you say the Pats should win this game easily? You'd have to be delusional at this point.
Especially, I mean, they don't have practices. They have golden hour walkthroughs. How are you building a rapport with your receivers? How are you altering your passing game? How are you injecting life into the Demario Douglas passing game and things of that nature? So, yeah, I'm not saying the Patriots are done by any means. I think this is a tough spot on paper. It's a gambling. A lot of people look at that for gambling. Tough spots. What's the spot like? This is a better spot to be Aaron Rodgers and the Jets than it is to be Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots and Gerard Mayo. And I almost don't care whether they win or lose. I guess that's probably a dumb thing to say, but I'm more about, are we going to get the competitive fight? Are we going to get the tackling? Are we going to get kind of that? Or are you going to see some dog in this underdog? Are you going to see some fade and some fall apart now? And that'll tell me a little bit about, because we've heard run through the wall for Gerard Mayo. They love him, the energy that he brings. He's a relationship builder and all those things. And it may or may not be fair, but that's what I'll be watching for more than anything. How does his team handle this business trip and whatever the game that unfolds Thursday night?
That place is going to be jacked up with all that same Jet fan fervor. Yeah, because now they get to, this is for Jets fans at Jet Life. This is their, let's pick up where we were last year, a year ago, when Rodgers got hurt 4 plays into it as well. He did speak yesterday quickly on McAfee and gave Mayo, Gonzalez, and Moore their flowers.
Played against him. Now he's he's head coach of the league, and obviously got those boys going. They had a big win in week 1 against Cincy, and then had a chance, just got beaten overtime in week 2. But division opponent, obviously early in the season, short week, a lot of strain on the body, but really important game, especially when you look back at the standings late in the season.
Yep. All right. That's pretty much what it is and how it's going to be. So what do you got for a prediction there, Hat?
I don't think it's going to go well. I think it is likely that the Jets take care of the football, and I think the Jets will pull away late. I got 31-13 Jets. I think, as I said, tough spot, banged up Patriots, offensive line. Wouldn't surprise me if you get a strip sack somewhere in there that helps the Jets' chances. Will McDonald or one of those guys up front getting, and you throw a ball up. Maybe and I don't love the idea of Brissett thinking about trying to get the ball down the field, trying to force it to wide receivers in this situation. I think that could lead to problems. I don't feel great about this. I don't think they're going to play this game on their terms. I think they may try early, and I think this is going to be a gangrene snowball.
If you're the Jets, of course you sell out to stop the run and you say, hey, Brissett, and these receivers you have no rapport with, go ahead, see if you can top 42.5 yards on average passing against us, because their secondary is the strength of this team, although DJ Reed is kind of banged up as well. They do have problems on the defensive line. I don't know who's going to play. It's probably going to be Caden Wallace at left tackle because Vidarian Lowe's been dinged up. Is it going to be Michael Jackson again at left guard because City So is going to be out a third straight week?
Jordan.
Probably. Michael Jordan, not Michael Jackson. Nor it's definitely not going to Tito Jackson, R.I.P.
Oh, what are we doing?
What do we do? We're having.
It won't be Diddy either. What?
Diddy? Probably. Actually, it's more than likely. David Andrews, he's banged up. Layden Robinson, he's banged up. Last week, Mike Onwenu might be the only healthy guy on the offensive line. And oh, by the way, he got smoked last week, Andy. That was the worst he's looked since he turned pro.
You know why Diddy would be a bad offensive lineman?
Why?
Too much penetration.
Oh, my God.
Oh, come on. That's good.
God.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, actually. It's also probably the reason why we just lost all of our potential sponsors. All right. Okay. I see it similarly to you. I think the Patriots defense holds them in check enough. However, one touchdown pass from Rodgers and a Braylon Allen scoot, because that kid, like I said, he got wheels out the backfield. I've been right on 2 weeks in a row. I called the Pats upset week 1. I said it was a field goal game last week. Jets 23, Pats 13. Sad trombone. Fum. I think they're in it for a good while, but in the end, the level playing field of both teams being banged up and on Thursday Night Football, a little more juice in the building for the Jets and definitely a lot more talent. But let's hope the Pats can keep it close. And like you said, it's not worth worrying about the win as much as seeing the fight, the culture established, and figuring out who your fighters are, who are the guys you want to keep around and build going forward. All right, Andy, I think that'll do for our Behind Enemy Lines with Will Parkinson and your Six Rings preview. You can follow him at Jumbo Hart on Twitter. And of course, he's part of the WI Afternoon Show. And I'm looking forward to invitations from many of you to your Oktoberfest. I'm at Fitzy GFY. This has been Six Rings and Football Things, brought to you by your friends at WEEI Odyssey and 2400 Sports. Don't forget, Six Rings postgame show live on WEEI right after Pats at Jets on Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football. And because it's a road game, we got a live unfiltered halftime show for you right here on the EEI and Fitzy GFY socials. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Good day. God bless. Go F yourselves. As always, go.